Hello everyone, I'm Ed Green, and in this demonstration I'm going to give you an overview of the app LinkedIn. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, it's really a social media app for professionals, I suppose. You find people who perhaps you are in a similar field of work with. People connect and network through it. They might find leads through what LinkedIn calls connections. Those are the people you connect with. Recruiters use it quite a lot. People increasingly look for jobs on LinkedIn, and people tend to post articles of interest to whatever field of work they happen to be in. Now, LinkedIn is quite a complex and feature-rich app in many ways, and I certainly can't do it justice in a 10 to 15-minute demo. It could almost merit its own short course, I suppose. But what I hope to do is give you an overview of some of the key features of the app. I have the app on screen now, and it's arranged in tabs which run across the bottom, and I'll show you those first of all. We start out on the left-hand side.
Selected, home 1 of 5, tab, out of list news feed.
So the home tab, as it says, is your news feed. This is where articles and news about your LinkedIn connections, that's what it calls friends, will be posted. Moving across the bottom, we have
My network 2 of 5, tab.
My network. So this is where all your connections will show. I think I have 500 and some odd. We'll find out when we go in a minute. Here I can have a look at my connections, see what they've been up to, see who they've connected with.
Post 3 of 5, tab.
A post will allow me to create a post on LinkedIn. That's what it calls contributions from its members, not dissimilar to other social media apps you might be familiar with. You can get to the post button in various different places, but there's a tab here which makes it easier.
Notifications 4 of 5, tab.
Notifications, we'll go and have a look at this. LinkedIn sends you a lot of notifications by default. Here is where you'll find as well invitations that people send you to connect. So that's what it calls requests, invitations. They are on LinkedIn.
Jobs 5 of 5, tab.
And jobs. So as I said, this is where you might go to find a job. You might also go to post a job. Now, as well as the 5 tabs at the bottom, there are a few controls at the top that, broadly speaking, are common on all tabs. So it doesn't matter if you have home selected or my network selected or post selected, you'll see these controls at the top. And I'm going to start there.
My profile and communities, button.
So if I went into here, and we may well do in a minute, we could have a look at my profile here. I could do things like let people know I was interested in a new job, and that would be shared with recruiters. I could add a new position that I had or reflect a change in responsibilities. I could put information about my education on there if I wanted to. It's quite a detailed screen in there. We might go and have a look in a little while.
Search for people, jobs, posts, and more, button.
Search for people, jobs, posts, and more. Pretty self-explanatory.
Messaging, 2 new notifications available, button.
And messaging. I'm going to go back to search, and we're going to see if we can add a connection on LinkedIn. Let's see if anyone wants to connect with us.
Search for people, jobs, LinkedIn. Search, edit box. Showing English, UK, QWERTY, keyboard. Showing board.
So obviously LinkedIn has millions of users. So I thought, who could we look for that might not have too common a name, but might be conceivably someone I wanted to connect with. And I remembered that a few podcast episodes ago, you might remember we had Charles Leclerc from ARX or ARX, which made the glasses which you plug into your phone, and they could read documents and identify scenes and read signs and all the rest of it. So let's see if Charles is on LinkedIn and wants to connect.
Charles Leclerc. Showing 8 suggestions for the search. Charles Leclerc. The research. Window board. Charles Leclerc. Keyboard hidden. Filter by people, button, and list.
So I have various filters here. As it happens, I do want to filter by people because I'm looking for a person and not a post.
People filter selected, button, and list. Filter by connections, button. Filter by locations, button.
So I could only get it to show me my connections if I wanted to. I could equally go and search for it from the network if I wanted that to happen, that other tab. Locations.
Filter by current company button. See all filters button.
And there are some other filters I could go have a look at. I don't propose to do that today.
208 results and list. Did you mean Charles Leclerc? Charles Leclerc, second, CEO and partner at Arts, London, Connect, Honors and Awards. James Dyson Fellowship 2016-3 full stop / Charles Leclerc /
Well, there we are. That's him. He's the top results. Now, it said second. What does that mean? Well, if I'm connected to someone directly, let's say that Warren and I were connected on LinkedIn, he would be what LinkedIn calls a first degree connection. So it would have said first. Now, let's say that Warren was connected to Austin, but I wasn't. If I searched for Austin, he would show as a second degree connection. It would say second. So clearly, Charles and we have a common connection. So I am going to see if there's a connect button to let me connect with Charles.
Connect button. Invited button. Disable invited.
There we go. I've double tapped it and he is now invited. I've invited him to connect with me and join my network. If he does that, I'll get notified in due course. It's pretty straightforward, obviously. It's not always that straightforward if you have someone with a very common name, but you may search for them differently to the way I just did it. But I hope you'll see that to find someone on LinkedIn is in and of itself not necessarily that complicated. So if I back out of here now.
Back button. Showing editing. Charles Leclerc. Edit. Search suggestion. Charles back button.
And again.
Keyboard hidden. LinkedIn. Search for people, jobs, posts, and more button.
We're back at the 3 buttons at the top of this tab. We haven't actually made it into a tab yet, but I will show you a couple of these other things.
My profile and communities button.
I'll go into profile and communities.
Menu. Edward Green.
That's me.
View profile button.
We could have a look at my profile. I will just take you in there, I think. You can also get to settings in here.
Settings button.
There they are. Look, I'm not going to go through LinkedIn settings. As I say, it's a pretty feature-rich app. We might be here all day, but I will show you profile.
View profile button. LinkedIn. Back button. Edward Green. Search. Settings menu button. Members background image button.
So here's where I could put photos of myself.
A member's profile photo button. Add profile video image. Edit basic profile information button.
There, I could change my name and all sorts of other things.
Edward Green, he/him. Deputy Director.
So that was going to tell you my job title.
500 plus connections button.
If I double tapped here, that would be a bit like me going into the network tab. I could go and have a look at my connections. I could double tap on a connection and there would be a search field there, and then that would search their connections. So it sort of would apply filters as you drilled down.
Open to button.
Open to. So this is where I could go and tell people that I was after a new job. I'm not going to do that.
Add section button. More options button. Button. Share that you're hiring and attract qualified candidates. Get started and list.
So if I was a recruiter, I could go there. That more options, I think, would include things like my contact information, had I made that available.
Dismiss button. Button. Find potential clients by showcasing the services you provide. Get started.
Yeah, so another way to track down leads.
Dismiss button. Suggested for you, private to you, and list. What would you like your headline to say about you? It's the first thing people see by your name and list.
So you can set a headline a bit like you would on a CV or resume. Really, you can say what sort of a professional you are, what your background is, experienced, whatever. Looking for, you get the idea. You'll have read CV, resume headlines before, no doubt.
Dismiss button. Update headline button. Analytics private to you, out of list. 58 profile views. Discover who's viewed your profile button and list.
So I could have a look at who's viewed my profile, except I think LinkedIn would charge me for that. That's a premium feature, and I don't use LinkedIn nearly enough to justify paying for it.
2,836 post impressions. Check out who's engaging with your posts button. 52 search appearances. See how often you appear in search results button. Resources private to you and list. Creator mode off. Get discovered. Showcase content on your profile and get access to creator tools. Button. Enlist. My network. See and manage your connections and interests. Button.
So again, another way to get into your network, you'll recall the tab that's at the bottom of the main screen. You can get to it here as well.
Salary insights. Explore how your salary compares to your peers and where your growth is headed. Button.
Salary insights. I have a feeling that might be a premium feature as well. I'm not certain, but I believe it might be.
Show all 5 resources. Button. Out of list. About. Enlist. Edit about. Button.
So here I can edit bits of my profile. It's quite a long screen, this. I could go there.
Specialties. Policy analysis. PPM. Procurement. Enlist.
So I could go in there and change my specialities or skills that I've set.
Activity. 580 followers. Out of list. Start a post. Button.
So you recall a post tab. Again, you could start a post from here instead.
You haven't posted lately. Recent posts you share or comment on will be displayed here. Enlist. Show all activity. Button. Out of experience. Add new experience. Button.
So this you might want to come and do. This is the add experience screen. If you've taken up a new role or you're starting out for the first time, you could do something here. I have to say, I do prefer this element of LinkedIn on the computer because things like selecting an organization and occasionally selecting a job title doesn't seem to work brilliantly on the phone. So I've come out of profile. That was mainly what I wanted to show you. Let's go have a little look at messaging.
Search for people, jobs, posts, and more. Button. Messaging. 2 new notifications available. Button. LinkedIn. Displaying chat list with no filters. Back. Button. Messaging. Message overflow menu. Button. Compose a new message. Button.
I could write to one of my connections.
Search messages. Button. Filter messages. Button. Hello Ed. I thought you might be interested in connecting. We specialize in validating your supply chain so you can be confident they are competent, legal and compliant, all at no cost to you. We remove the risk and absorb that for you. Look forward to connecting with you. Thanks. March 25th. First unread message.
So I'll open this message up. As you see, I don't check LinkedIn particularly often. This date's from March.
Back. Button. Chat details. Button. Create video meeting. Button. View his profile. March 25. Was sent. Hello Ed. 7:54. Hello Ed. I thought you open keyboard drawer. Button. Out of write a message. Edit box.
So if I go in here.
Write a message. Showing English. You record a voice message. Button. Editing. Write a message. Edit box.
Looks like I can record a voice message. I'm going to put hi and see if a send button appears.
Capital Y. Window board. Capital H. Hotel. I. Send. Button.
Yeah, and there's a send button. I don't want to send that.
Messaging. Button.
So those are the 3 buttons at the top. This first tab, as I said, is just a news feed. So what would appear there, as I mentioned earlier, are articles that perhaps your connections have posted, some things, some sponsored content or things that LinkedIn thinks you ought to have a look at. But if I have a quick flick through some of these other tabs.
My network 2 of 5. Tab.
Go to my network.
People. Tab 1 of 2. Selected. My profile and communities. Button.
So you'll see at the top we have those 3 options again.
Search for people, jobs, posts, and more. Button. Messaging. Button. Manage my network. Button.
So we could manage the network. That button was also available in our profile.
Invitations have moved to the notifications tab. Go to notifications. Button. People you may know from.
So it's telling me people I might know from my organization. But if I go up to manage my network.
Go to notifications. Invitations have moved. Manage my network. Button. LinkedIn. Back. Button. Manage my network. Connections. 578. Enlist.
So 578 connections I have. I could go and have a look in there. I could click on their name, see what they've been up to. As I say, do a search of their connections.
Companies. 4.
Companies 4. That's because I have 4 different employers listed on my career history. And that's the end of that tab, unless we actually do go into connections and have a look. I'm not going to do that.
Back. Button. Out of LinkedIn. Manage my network. Post 3 of 5. Tab.
Have a quick look at the post tab.
LinkedIn. Close. Button. Share post. Post. Button. Disabled. Author image. Image. Edward Green.
That's me.
Anyone. Select post visibility option. Button.
So you'll be familiar with this from other social media networks. Who can see your post? Let's see what our options are.
Displaying bottom sheet. Who can see this post? Your post will be visible on feed, on your profile, and in search results. Your selection will be saved. Your selection will be saved. Anyone on or off LinkedIn. Selected. Radio button. Enlist. Connections only. Connections on LinkedIn. Unselected. Radio button.
So anyone or people you're connected to.
Back. Button. Out. LinkedIn. Anyone. Select post visibility option. Button.
Doesn't really matter because we're not going to write a post.
What do you want to talk about? Edit box.
And there's our edit field.
Add hashtag. Button. Enlist. Take photo. Button. Out of. Attach a video to this post. Button. Select photos from the gallery. Button. More content types. Button. Anyone. Button.
And there we are. And you'll recall that background here was actually the post button. It appears above or to the left. However, it's actually laid out of the edit field, not dissimilar to Facebook in that regard.
Attach a video to this post. Back. Button. LinkedIn. Post 3 of 5. Tab.
So we'll have a look at the notifications tab.
Notifications 4 of 5. Tab. Notifications 4 of 5. Selected.
As I said, LinkedIn does have a habit of sending you quite a lot of notifications. So particularly in terms of whether or not they appear outside of LinkedIn in notification settings, that will be something you want to be judicious about.
My profile and communities. Button.
Again, here are those top 3 buttons.
Search for people, jobs, posts, and more. Button. Messaging. Button. Selected. All. Button. Enlist.
So these are the different types of notifications.
Invitations. Button.
Invitations. This might be where you come most often because this is where you'll recall I sent Charles a connection request or a connection invitation as LinkedIn would have it. Here is where the ones that people have sent me will appear. So if I double tap this.
Invitations. Selected. Selected. Invitations filters. Button. Button. Rob White invited you to connect 1 week ago. View Rob White's profile. Setting options. Button. Hi Ed. Expand Rob. Hi Ed. Accept Rob White's invitation. Button.
So there we go. I flipped through that because the content isn't particularly important, but I had a connection request. There was a message with it, which I could have read and expanded. And if I want to accept this this invitation, this connection request, I can hit that button.
Jobs 5 of 5. Tab.
And now the Jobs tab, the final one.
Jobs 5 of 5. Selected. My profile and communities. Button. Search jobs. Button.
The search button on this tab varies a little bit. We still have, as you heard, the first one, but this is just a job search on here.
Jobs navigation menu. Button.
So the jobs screen is a little different to the others. So if we just carry on having a look at this.
Messaging. Button. My jobs. Button. Enlist.
I don't have any jobs saved.
Post a job. Button.
I could post one.
Load more. Button. Out of list. Be first to hear about new jobs. Set up job alerts and get notified about the latest job openings. Unlabeled. Create a job alert. Button. Enlist.
So if there are particular fields of employment you're interested in finding more about, particular organizations, you could go in and do something about that there.
Dismiss. Button. Out of recommended for you. Government and Corporate Affairs Senior Director, Microsoft, London, England, United Kingdom, 3 connections, 1 day ago. Button.
So these are all the jobs LinkedIn thinks I might be interested in. Well, that's a very brief flavour of LinkedIn, not so much brief in the length of the recording, but brief in what the app can do. Hope that's been of interest, and it might be an app that we return to if there is any demand to have a look at some of its features in more detail. But that's it from me for now.